Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Akibatun lil Mustaqim. Wala Rani ila ala Dalimin. Muhammadin who was Sayyidina Maghbubina. Inhu kana Sayyidin Mursaleen. Salawatu Rabbi Taslimatihi alayh. Ahlan salim bikum. My dear brothers and sisters, I will embark today on the other chapter of the Muslim. We covered the first part of it, which was establishing the salat in the home, the sister, the brother and the sister. And then we got into the entering the masjid and some of the pitfalls of what has been happening there in the masjid. And now we're talking about, you have now made your entry into the masjid. And you have been going to this masjid for a while. And you have uncovered some things about the people in it, the Imam, and so forth and so on. And so you had to ask the question, what do you do? How do you solve this problem? Excuse me, my brothers and sisters. I'm trying to, again, coordinate. Okay. Yeah, I see, I got it. Okay. Oh, no. It's always the same thing. I don't know why. I have it set for everybody, and then they push it back. I don't know why. To okay, there we go. So anyway, the problem that we have today, and this is a delicate issue because nobody talks about this issue. This is why I'm talking about it, because we should discuss this and we should be well educated on everything, not just taken back to the 7th century and 8th century and that's it. Or we ask the Sheikh Islams or the students of knowledge questions about a lot of little integral things like this. But what's been discussed about going inside the masjid, coming outside the masjid, establishing salat inside the house is not being discussed. So we have people doing a variety of things. But now we're in a period of time where we have students of knowledge, we have devout Muslims, we have older Muslims who take care of the religion, and now they come into a masjid or they move into an area and uncover something about this masjid that perplexes them. And then what should they do? And this is everywhere, brothers and sisters. So let me give my salutations. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh lil ikwani wa hawati fi din. Salamu ala mani tabahuda lil ikwani wa hawati fi Africa wa Europa, Asia wa Caribbean wa kuli makan. Now, this is a touchy issue, brothers and sisters, because we're left with choices, and sometimes these choices are not good because we want to do something, but we're prevented from doing it because of the Sharia, and we have to be mindful of that, or we could be sinful in our actions, and this is why we have to be very, very careful in what we do. And as you see there, I put this hadith, which is authentic, from the Prophet ﷺ. And why this is important, because we always go back to the Aqidah. Okay, Aqidah Islamiyah. Okay, the Islamic faith and the belief in it. And this covers some parts of Tawheed as well. And this hadith here is indicative from every Muslim. Because if you don't follow this simple, basic, fundamental principle, then your Islam, your Iman is in question. This is directly related, again, to the establishment of the salat in the house and also establishing the salat in the masjid. Because you have to have this in order for you to do it right. And I always get into that. So here we got man ta'ani فقد أطاع الله ومن أساءني فقد أساء الله ومن أطاع وأمر فقد أطاعني. Here, subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Prophet says, if you obey me, then you obey Allah. This is a fundamental principle. Fundamental principle, my brothers and sisters. Fundamental. If you are in disobedience of me, then you're in disobedience of subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you obey remember we talked about this, the Amir or the Imam, okay, then you have obeyed our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. This is what we're talking about here. And so this is a basic principle and a fundamental principle in Tawheed and the Aqidah Islamiyah, because you have to have this basic premise that you practice and believe in order for you to be called a Muslim. And we'll get into some of this to say what has happened to some of us, okay, that we uncover inside the masjid. And this very basic principle here, fundamental principle here, they have pushed aside. And this is why I say, nobody is talking about this. I don't blame my brothers and the students, knowledge, and they have other things that we understand that. But some of the basic things like this, no one's discussing. So I'm discussing it because I think it's important. Now, the first area I want to get to here is in Surah Nisa, which is Surah 4, and this is verse 142. And I'm giving you a backdrop here. In English, I'm reading, the hypocrites think they are overreaching Allah, but he will overreach them. When they stand up to prayer, when they stand up to prayer, they stand without earnestness to see of men, but little do they hold Allah in remembrance. I'm giving you a backdrop. Now, this is some of the people here, they may look like me. They may be tall and white, or they could be short and black. They could be Afro-Arab. They could be Afro-Asiatic. They could be Mexican or Tubal. This covers these individuals who are doing this. And this is part, and I'm going to lead you to this. I'm going to lead you to what I'm getting at, my brothers and sisters. So please be patient. And now we go to the next verse, which is 43. They are distracted in mind, even midst of being sincere, for neither one group nor another. Whom Allah leads astray, never will thou find him for him the way. Again, we have these individuals here. They are not sincere to anybody, even though they may have allegiance for the wrong people. They're not with them, essentially. It could be money driven, financial driven. Then to the other side, they may have believers that they are not with them either. So this is what we're talking about in this instance. Now, Surah Nisa, again, number 60, which is very interesting, because this goes to the heart of the matter. And subhanahu wa ta'ala says, fast thou not turn thou vision to those who declare that they believe in revelations that have come to thee and those before thee. Their real wish is to resort together for judgment in their disputes to the evil one, though they were ordered to reject, but Satan's wish to lead them astray far away from right. Here, brothers and sisters, we have people who don't use the Sharia. They judge you and me by the laws, basically, of man. And those laws are devilish and conniving and prejudicial. And you use this, and in this instance, you use this against Muslims. It's a serious, serious offense. So we got into that. Now, let's get into the heart of the matter. The Masjid of Haram. In the Quran, we have a word for it. We call it Masjid Dirar. And I'll get into that. The modern Masjid of Haram are four kinds. The masjid built on piety, which is taqwa in Arabic, and truth in Allah, but overtaken by disbelievers, thugs, and hypocrites. This is a masjid. All masjids are built basically on piety. We have brothers who want the masjid in an area, they collect donations, or they get a hefty sadaqah from Saudi Arabia or some Muslim country, or rich, some of our richest brothers and sisters, and they finance a masjid, and it's built upon taqwa. But what happens is they built this masjid in the area, but not knowing that it's surrounded by those that we're mentioning here. Number one, surrounded by thugs, hypocrites, and disbelievers. So what do you think was going to happen with that masjid? Because they're going to frequent this masjid. When you come to it, you're going to have problem, especially if you're devout. Because you're a devout Muslim, you'll be able to ferret these people out very quickly. They will ferret you out, and they will target you to try to remove you from the masjid. And so we get more into this. The second masjid is built on piety, but overran by nationalist fervor. This goes more into the United States in particular, and some parts of Europe as well, where we have nationalism. The masjid was built on taqwa. But suddenly in the area that is built in, there's a strong black nationalism fervor. So the masjid is built by piety, but you have the brothers around there who are nationalistic. They don't want to see anybody else come in their masjid. Same with the Afro-Arabs. We have Afro-Arab nationalists as well. And they hold on to certain traditions, and they too have a nationalism. They don't want to see people that look like me or anybody else, or Pakistani or Mexican or anybody else coming to their masjid. Pakistani masjids. Our brothers from Pakistan, the Pakistani Americans, they have their masjid built upon, again, this nationalistic fervor. And they don't want to see anybody else in it except their own. Number three, masjid built on piety, but used and controlled by elite government officials, police, dignitaries, and so forth. I first saw this when I was in Sudan, and I was kind of shocked. I first got to Sudan, and this brother put me up in a hotel because I was tired because I had been up that night, and it's only 4 hours or so, 4.5 hours from here to Sudan, from Morocco to Sudan. But he put me up into a very nice hotel, and so when I asked him, he said, "Yeah, there's a masjid down the street," and so I went to this masjid. When I went in there, I found all of these type of individuals in it, and they weren't pleased to see me. And then when I told them that I was an American, they assumed that I was an American agent undercover, so they accepted me. I saw that. I was there for only a couple of days in this particular hotel, and then I prayed in this masjid a couple of times, and that was it. And that's what we're talking about in a situation like this. These kind of masjids are again, a darar, because they don't want to see anybody else in there. And this is not what the masjids were built for. Number four, the masjid built on piety, but are certain deviant groups outside the sunnah of Nabi. So what Allah Ta'ala wa alayhi wasalam, the Shia, the Ahmadiyya, the Quraniyun, these people like this, they have masjids. They don't want to see you in them unless you are one of these. The students of knowledge, the Sheikh Islams, Imams are fielding a lot of questions today about this issue in particular, number 4 here. They just moved into an area and they find, and even some of under the 4 madhabs. Remember we covered that just last week, a couple of days ago. And some of these madhabs, or some of the people in them, are fanatics. And they don't want to see anybody in that masjid unless they Hanafi, or they Shafi'i, or Hanbali. See, they don't want to see anybody except who belongs to their madhab. And this is not right. Now, let's look at the heart of the matter. You say, Yahya, okay, but where in the Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about such an issue? And then what happened in situations like this? Let's go to Surah Toba. And Surah Toba is the verses are 107 and 108, but there's 109 and 10 also that are related to that. But I want you to get the gist of this and how difficult it is. Even at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, this situation began to fester. Here we have clear, I was going to say in Arabic, excuse me, we have clear persons who are against subhanahu wa ta'ala, disbelievers. And the story lead to this is very long, and it's about this one guy. He had some dealings with the Prophet ﷺ. He tried to trick the Prophet ﷺ. He even sided with the Romans, and he wanted the Romans to do away with the Muslims. So he tried to fool subhanahu wa ta'ala and then fool our Prophet ﷺ by building a masjid where they can house, they can nurture the hypocrites and those who want to take out the Muslims. So he asked the Prophet ﷺ to pray there. But the angel Gabriel came to the Prophet ﷺ and explained to him about this masjid. Here's what subhanahu wa ta'ala says here. This is number 7. This is Surah Toba, 107. The verse is 107, and Surah Toba, which is Surah 9. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and there those who put a masjid by the way of mischief and infidelity to disunite the believers, and in preparation for one who warred against Allah and his messenger a 4th time, meaning that they're planning to do something against the Muslims. They will indeed swear that their intention was nothing but good. Go again about the intention. But Allah doth declare that they are certain liars. Now he revealed this to our Prophet ﷺ. He revealed it. Gabriel was sent to warn him about this particular masjid. Here is the kicker in this, why we have the dilemma today, because we have brothers uncover masjids like this. And they live miles and miles away from other masjids that are more accommodating, who are better, and the believers are Muslims, and the Imam is also devout. But he moved to an area, and this masjid is Dirar, with the people aforementioned here, racist, criminals, and so forth and so on. And number 108, here's what subhanahu wa ta'ala says about such a masjid. Never stand thou for therein. Don't go in there and make takbir. To stand in means you go in to make prayer there and to pray to subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't do it. You don't stand with there. You don't stand there. There is a masjid whose foundation was laid from the first day on piety. It is more worthy to stand forth for prayers therein. Again, you see, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is telling you, you've uncovered this masjid. But it's better for you to find another masjid based upon piety. Yes, it's built on piety, but the people in it, because he says further, in it are men who love to be purified. Is their wudu and their actions and so forth and so on. Their ikhlas, okay? This is what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala talking about. And Allah loveth those who make themselves pure. The purification. The people who are aforementioned are not pure. Because if you harbor racial animus, meaning you hate people because there's certain things, we're not talking about the war between black folk and white folk in the United States. That's a different situation there. And a Muslim, we have to be ordered. And I told you I have problems in this area because what has happened in my family for many, many generations. So we have to be very careful in this regard. So I would say to you, this has been perplexing for me as well. And I wrote to one Sheikh Islam, and he asked a question to 5 others. And I got basically 2 different answers to this problem, because I was dealing with this. And every masjid I've gone to here, to Salat al-Fajr in the area where I moved to, where I've gone to, our friends from the embassy, the agents, do this here. They begin to throw the people out and put their own people in there. And they follow me from the house. They try to run me over in cars, all this kind of stuff. And I'm talking the truth now. And it's documented proof of this with videos and also complaints. And they make the masjid, you go inside the masjid, these people in there, they're nothing but punks, thugs. They're wretched tubabs. All these people in there, they're not even Muslim. You know, they have nothing to do with Islam at all. They're there only because they're trying to create a Masjid Dirar. The masjid I go to now, same way. When I first got to, now I got a new home. I'm over here. And I go to this masjid, which is about near a mile. I like it because it's far away. I seen brothers in there. All those brothers are gone. They've been replaced again by these people go in there and threaten, and they remove those good brothers, older brothers out of there, and they put these mujrimeen, they're criminals, it's bottom line, in the masjid. This is happening everywhere. In Britain, in France, in the Netherlands. I mean, it's happening everywhere now. And they go after especially students of knowledge and the scholars, the ulama fuqaha, because they want to drive them out. And if you are a strong believer, if you are in one Jamaat Islami and you're strong, they try to drive you out. They use these people to do it. You asked the question, brothers, which Muslim takes an order like this and goes in and goes after your brother inside the house of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, where you're supposed to venerate him? These are not Muslims. They're not Muslims. Those who go after you when you leave your house to follow you to the masjid, or to hire thugs to come after you on the street as you go to the masjid. This is happening. Okay, it still happens to me now and then here. And these are not Muslims. There's other verses, but I'm leading you to another day too, where I'll get into this. There's names for this, brothers and sisters, that you should know, because no one covers this aspect either. Yes, we cover about the Mujahideen groups, talking about, who's fighting in Syria and places like this. We have students now and scholars talk about them all the time. Don't follow them. So you heard me talk about don't follow them, but they never touch on this issue. They don't touch issue about the masjid and these people who are working basically for disbelieving governments. They come in Muslim lands, or they're working in Los Angeles, New York, every place, Philadelphia, and they go after the Muslims and so forth and so on in these masjids. So I talk about this now because nobody talks about that, as though it doesn't exist. But yet they're talking about the Mujahideen, what they're doing wrong. Yes, they should, because kidnapping, murder, bombing. It's a heinous crime. We have to talk about that. But we have an other side of this too. We have this type of situation here where you have masjids, and we have brothers who are in sheer pain because they don't know what to do. If they go out their house, they get beaten, or they get threatened. Or if they go to the masjid, they let them come to the masjid, and inside the masjid, they hit them. And we've had those situations. I had that happen to me before. I was down in prostration, and these tuba from the embassy brought their people in there, and the guy hit me in the back of the head. A coward hit me in the back of the head when I was in prostration. And they still do the same thing some today. While I'm in line or something like this, the guy will come and hit you in the back because they know you can't retaliate because you've already made takbir. And these people will swear to you when you ask them, why'd you do this? I'm a strong Muslim, they'll tell you. Oh, I'm a devout Muslim. No, you're not. You're a kafir. Anybody who does this in the debate Allah, you cannot be a Muslim. And we have names for that. But I'll get into that another time. So that's Surah 9 and verses 107, 108. I'm going to cover this because brothers do have this problem, because I've seen these questions asked. They have asked this. They said, look, I go here, they hit me in the masjid when I'm in the line, or they threaten me as I come to the masjid. Brothers and sisters, what Muslim does that to another Muslim when it's supposed to be Muslim aku Muslim? Muslims are brothers. What Muslim does that to another Muslim? Especially to the older Muslims. And they threaten to kill them, or they threaten them with bodily harm. What Muslim does that? You have to ask that question. Now, let's get into this further. Let's look at the types of people who enter the masjid. The true devout Muslim. The true devout Muslim enters the masjid. We know that. We have that. They enter that. These are our brothers in Islam. They are brothers. Regardless, irrespective of their race and their origin. They are brothers. The second are the weak and marginal Muslims. They still are brothers too, but they're not as devout. But they don't go out to harm the Muslims. They don't fight against the Muslimin. They may even smoke and drink, but but they don't harm anybody. Their problems between them and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And we're not living under the Sharia, because we can't. If we lived under the real Sharia, we would not allow people to be smoking and drinking in the open. You'll get arrested for it. But they may smoke and drink inside their house. But they don't hurt anybody. So their sin may be hitting Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and that person, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala knows, and that person knows, and maybe only his family knows that he's doing this. But he comes to the masjid, and he is devout in the sense that he comes to the masjid and he makes his prayer there. He's still our brother. Then we have the fanatical and heretical Muslims who blindly follows certain traditions, madhabs, etc. Now, they're Muslims too, but they, again, are so fanatical about certain madhab, or they'll say that they're Salafi, or they'll say that they're from the Tasawwuf, they'll say that they are this, or they'll say that they are that, or they're from this Jamaat, and they are fanatical about that. And then they go to the masjid and you'll see how they act. And some of them have their masjids as well, and they don't want to see you in it unless you are of them. And they'll even question you. Hey, brother, you come here. What are you? Are you Hanafi? Are you Maliki? What are you? Are you Shafi'i or Hanbali? What are you? They'll ask you. This is how fanatical. When it should not be. The brother comes into the masjid, you should be greeted. Remember when I talked about that. The brother comes in, he's a brother to every Muslim in there. He comes in and does what he's supposed to do. Nobody should be confronting him at the door unless it's clear that he may be a disbeliever, which we have the right to do. But if you see a brother that you have not seen before, you don't go up to him when he enters the masjid. He makes his dua, and he go in here and you start talking about, what is your madhab? That's wrong. But we have this. We have this a lot. We have especially the Salafi brothers and so-called Wahhabi brothers. I don't like to use those terms because Wahhab is the name of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. I don't like that. I don't like that term at all. But we have people use that, and they use it wrongly. But we have that, and these people here are fanatical. Those masjids are very difficult to pray in. Very, very difficult, because you know it's there. Even the Imam is like that. 4, we have the enemy, criminal, hypocrite. He say he's a Muslim, but he's not a Muslim. He's not a Muslim. He's a criminal. He what his job, what he does criminal activity. He sells drugs. He may do a lot of fornication. He may be doing a lot of different things that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala deems as criminal under the Sharia Islamiyah. He also goes to the masjid. And then he has made his obedience upon disbelievers and their laws. This is why the disbelievers and their governments are having a field day in Muslim states today, because we are loaded with criminals in it. And these criminals are easily bought and paid for. You give them a few trinkets, they do exactly what they want them to do. And they aim as to persecution and interdiction of Muslimin. These are not our brothers. The first 3 are our brothers. These are our brothers. Okay? Yes, one's weak, other one is fanatical, but he's still our brother. And we have the devout Muslims, they're our brother. But number 4 is not your brother. He's your enemy. He's a hypocrite, and he's following the disbelievers, and he's helping disbelievers against you. Then we have the hardened and wretched disbeliever who poses as a Muslim. He poses as a Muslim. He is not a Muslim. He's paid to act as a Muslim. He poses as a Muslim, and he goes to the masjid to what? To make reports on different brothers and stuff like this, to get them, to help to prepare cases against them under draconian laws that they themselves have manufactured. 6, we have the Muslim devout or marginal Muslim working undercover. But now listen to this one here, brothers and sisters. We have the devout Muslim or even a marginal Muslim working undercover with security forces. But look at the difference here. He's undercover, but he's there to protect the worshipers and the Imam, because now we have a lot of crazy stuff. How many times every year you hear some nut, some punk with a knife comes inside the masjid. They've been doing this almost 1,400 years to kill the Imam or somebody inside the masjid. So now we have undercover security forces who come in. They're brothers. They are brothers. They are Muslims, but they work under the government and the security forces to protect the Muslims, not to harm them, not to spy on them, not to go after them in the street, not to threaten them. These here go after those people who do this type of thing. This is their job, to ferret out the number 5. These kind of people like this, that's their job. When they see an old Muslim come in, and they see punks, that's hired by the embassies, or the U.S. Embassy in particular, by their agents, and they hire these people. They come in there and hit the old man. These guys will go to deal with them. So they are brothers, to protect the worshipers and the Imam, and not there to spy or hurt the Muslims. It's a big difference. So now we have that. We have the situation where we have our brother who enters into a masjid and is filled with these type of people in it. Even the Imam is questionable. What do you do? When I gave this question 5-6 years ago, because I was in a masjid, it was so bad. It was built on taqwa. They removed everybody in it. No, this is more than 5 years. No, maybe about 7-8 years ago. I think maybe around there, something like that. Around there, I was in one. It's a beautiful area, but the Tubab were in there from the embassy, okay, agents, and they hired thugs. And let me tell you something, it was rough. How many times I was hit in the back of the head in prayer? How many times I was hit in the back? How many fights I had out on the street going home? It's not as rough like that nowadays as it was then, because things happen. I don't want to get into that. I did some things to get things going. But you have to ask the question again, brothers and sisters, as you as a African American or Afro-Arab. You go and you live in the United States all your life. You tried to abide by the laws. You even maybe went in the military. You might did this, and the minute you go back and you want to go and to be a devout Muslim, the same people who's supposed to that they're Americans as well come after you. This is a shame, and it's very, very, very shameful. Now, what did we do? Three of the three of the scholars have made a comment saying that you should not attend the masjid, irrespective of what these people are doing. Don't go there. The other three said no. If you can withstand it, this is a jihad. This is a strong jihad. You get more ajr from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You go in there, even if you have to stand alone in the back of the masjid, you make your prayer and you leave. Because there's no fellowship with these kind of criminals in it. You got fake Muslims who are tubab from the embassy. You have criminals they hired on the street. You have criminal police also undercover who are working with the Americans or with the British government or some of these governments. They are doing this, and you can't fellowship with them. See, so you get in, get out. So which one do you do? I had to weigh those options. And we have the other side of this too, where we have brothers moved in the area. The masjid was Ahmadiyya, it's Shia. They moved into an area, and here's the masjid is this way, and it's hostile to them because they know he's Sunni and he's following the Sunnah. And so he go in there, he has problems because what they do inside the masjid is bid'ah, a lot of it. He can't pray this way. So what does he do? We have some recent scholars who told them you cannot pray in such a masjid. Or we have some of these masjids where they talk against the companions and against the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. You cannot pray in these kind of masjids. You cannot. So I brought these issues up today, brothers and sisters, because we do have Muslims who aren't dealing with this type of issue. And I have to be honest and frank about that because I experienced this too, but not as much as it used to be. It's not like this as it was because things happened. And then as certain officials in the government here began to realize what was going on, they began to put a stop in a lot of things. They still pull their stuff out here. They still pull some little things here and there. But if they come up directly to threaten me about killing, as they did 10, 11, 12 years ago, I said, they don't do that anymore. They may say some things or something at nighttime, they'll come by and somebody say something, but not as much. And so they don't want you to go to the masjid. And you remember something I told you, if you remember a long time ago, some of my classes, why is that? Our brother Malcolm Al-Hajj, remember him? Imam, remember him? Imam Malik Al-Shabazz, Malcolm X, as you know him in the United States. He was such an influence. This is what our government has decided on, that you do not want to see any more Malcolm X's here in Africa, period. That's why they try to get them out everywhere. The strong, devout Muslims, they try to throw them out. So I talk about this, and it may anger a lot of people, but I have to talk the truth. And this issue is plaguing many Muslims. There's many students of knowledge have this problem in Britain, in France, in the Netherlands, in Germany. Okay, but you know what's funny? You don't hear of this problem in Russia. That's very interesting, isn't it? And how white can you get? How tuba can you get in the Russians? Huh? You don't hear that because Putin said they don't do that to the Muslims. That's why he has the largest Muslim population in Europe. Because if they were interdicting, doing the stuff like they're doing in all Muslim states and in other non-Muslim countries, see, Muslims wouldn't be flocking there. And even scholars would not be flocking there. See, but they don't do that. Even though they have some extremists here and there, but they deal with that. But Muslims are not beaten as they go to the masjid. Muslims are not threatened as they go to the masjid. There's no undercover Tuba, American, British, or anything like this going there, going after black and Afro Arabs to threaten them when they go to the masjid. It's not there. They don't do that. It's funny, isn't it? Very interesting, isn't it? And it's not a Muslim state, as you know. See, so this is a very, very harsh class that I'm giving now. But we have to talk about the good things and the bad things. And I don't want to leave those people who do follow me back in the 7th century. You have problems today, like I discussed the other day about entering the masjid and what you see and what you don't do inside there. Now we at this part, we talked about the establishment of the salat inside the house. You find little on that. You find little about entering the masjid and about some of the things that goes on inside the masjid that are pitfalls and may hurt your salat. And then now we got this issue where you always have the enemy that will be doing these things and so forth and so on. And now we have Muslims who are crying. They don't know what to do anymore. They're in an area, they have these kind of masjids. They don't know what to do. So I give you this backdrop, brothers and sisters, hoping that those who are inflicted with this will give them something to ponder about. I give you the types of people who go there. See, that's just 6. There's maybe up to about 10, 11 different types, but I don't want to be so technical. But I'm giving you these 6 types. There's more, but you'll have something that you can now, kind of grasp on. You hear somebody talk about the issue that you've been plagued with, and you don't know how to deal with it. What is my advice to you? My advice to you, brother, is this. You listen to your students of knowledge and your scholars in your area. Whatever they give you, the advice you give, if you feel it's sound, you go by what they say. This is my best advice to you. Because there's no written fatwa or a body that's given a fatwa that's binding for all the Muslims about this issue. You don't find anything about this. That's striking. Even though Surah Toba, verses 107, 108, is prevalent today, okay? We have plotting against Muslims who don't want to see subhanahu wa ta'ala's law supreme in the land. They don't want to see the brothers worshiping and under Tawheed Allah, and nobody's covering this. See, nobody covers that. So my best advice to you is those you ask that question, if you have not already, and ask the students of knowledge and your scholars in your region and ask them about this issue. What should you do? My advice to you is this. If you can find a masjid that's more encompassing, more to your liking, that you can go in there and you still have some believers in it, if it's close enough and you can make it, okay. If you live in some, like certain brother I saw the other day, he's got it bad, really bad, okay, real bad. He has one masjid and the other masjid is almost 10 to 13 miles away. Very difficult for him to go in Fajr prayer. He has to drive, come back home, and then he has to be at work. He cannot do it because the time that Fajr prayer in this area where he lived, he has about an hour window. So by the time he go over there and by the time he come back, he only has a couple of minutes to leave. He said at one time he used to hurry to eat breakfast and then run to the masjid, and then he make his prayer and run to work. But his work is on the other side of town, which made it tough, and he's not wealthy, so he has to pay a lot of gas, and it was wearing him out, so he cannot do it. So he now prays at home, but then he says that there's a masjid he found near his work, and he goes there and tries to make a couple of salats after he finished work, then he goes home. So we have those issues. If you have a masjid and you have masjids in the nearby area, you may have to go to a different masjid that's more accommodating and don't have these type of characters in it. Even if you have some characters in it, but if you have brothers in it, you go there and you pray. But this masjid is a pure dirar, okay? Masjid Dirar, where it's nothing but thugs, gangsters, and they don't want you in there. They hit you, they threaten you. Then the best thing for you to do is go and also file your report with the police and let them know what is going on in this masjid. This is sunnah. Because if you look at the hadith of the Prophet, he talked about issues when you deal with people who say they're Muslim and they're Muslim criminals. He said you turn them in. Now, in the Western states, you know, there's issues there because you're turning somebody over to the disbelievers. But if you have someone's threatening your life, you have no other choice. You have to protect you and your family. You have a right to protect yourself, and you have to use all the means available to you. See, but in Muslim states, we don't have that problem because you turn them over to a Muslim entity. So these guys who are doing this, who profess to be Muslims, you turn them over. You make a report and say, look, every time I go to the masjid, this is what they do. They're out in front of the house. They're bothering me. They're bothering my wife. I don't know why they're doing this. When I go inside the masjid, they hit me in the back, you know, and you make your report. This is sunnah. This is sunnah. You do this against a Muslim criminal. You do this. And this is what I advise you, my dear brother, who's involved in this, because we have this. Maybe some of you said, wow, I never heard of such a thing. This probably exists. There is a lot. It's just that a lot of brothers don't talk about it, or you don't read about it, and the scholars and students don't cover this much at all. You don't see anybody covering this. So I'm covering this today because this is something that is very, 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 very troubling and harsh. And I wanted to bring this attention to and help those brothers who have faced similar difficulties like I did in this situation, but I don't have the difficulties as I did before. I still have some stuff that goes on when I leave in the morning to go, but not at the extent it did 10, 11 years ago. It was off the charts, okay? Off the charts. It's much better because now I don't want to there's things that's happened that's made it much better. So my brothers and sisters, I'm going to leave you with that today, and I will start to now cover about, I gave you this backdrop about these people. What do we call them? What is our Prophet ﷺ with subhanahu wa ta'ala? We've covered some of that already. But what do we have in here by names? And what are these people as far as their iman goes who do this? I will cover this inshallah ta'ala and give you the names of this, and then you will see this because this is part of your education. You should know this because it deals with disbelief and shirk billah. And I'll get into that. And these are some of the pitfalls. When we talk about these Muslims who say they're Muslims doing this, this is part of the pitfalls of faith. It takes you out of the faith. So my dear brothers and sisters, I will leave you with the beautiful words of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullah barakatuh.